Do you remember? You stood there, and so by the way, we're live. I've just flicked the switch.
Okay.
Everybody, meet Sharon Williams from Taurus Marketing. But before we start, I've just got to. We were just talking about Maya, my daughter, and it was 3 years ago that you stood up on stage in front of 60 execs, 70 execs, I think there was all together, and you helped us launch the MeetMagic thing. It was 2017, 3 years ago.
That was a great event, wasn't it? Oh, I turned my phone off. It's pinging. Wasn't that a great event? It was a really good, feel-good morning, wasn't it?
Do you know, I shit myself then that morning. The same feeling I've got right now talking to you again, because it's for some reason you're like the powerhouse in marketing, and I get nervous.
Oh, well, I think all of us are going through uncharted territory at the moment, Carl. So I think we're all, back to being a little bit of a novice again. But the good news is I'm old enough to have lived through a few crises. So yeah, it's not all the first time for everything with me, but it would be for a lot of people right now.
Before we kick in and introduce you properly, because I'm terrible, I just wanted to say Lily and I have done a few of these events, these LinkedIn Lives, and we're doing it completely unscripted, by the way. We don't plan anything. We don't plan what we're going to say. It's completely off the cuff. And if something happens 5 minutes before, it will get called out. And literally 5 minutes ago, what was his name, Lily?
Gavin Slater.
Gavin Slater, you absolute legend. He is the current managing director of a company called...
he's the CEO.
The CEO of Nimble. And Gavin's just replied to us and said he'd love to be involved in the Meeting for Good. And he is officially number 200. Lily? We've cracked the 200.
Good.
We've cracked the 200 mark. Now, I must admit, it's kind of ironic because Nimble, if you don't know, is a payday loan company. And when you're up the creek without a paddle and you need to get some money, you can go to Nimble and you can get a payday loan, and you pay it back over a short period of time. Do you remember, Lily, when I was talking about the numbers of MeetMagic, how we went from the first year, we did a little bit of money. The second year was 7,000% growth, but we didn't actually make any money. We didn't make much money at all. In fact, I was struggling to pay the bills. I had to go to Nimble to get a payday loan. And I'm not joking. And when I wrote,
oh my gosh, that's insane.
This is
circle.
Yeah, Deepak Chopra will call that serendipity.
Yeah,
for sure. And so Gavin, thank you so much for being number 200, because it's just giving me goose pimples. Now, anyway, enough about me. Sharon, hi.
I'm so excited to be talking to you again.
I know it's been a while, and I know one day we are going to use Taurus Marketing, because Taurus, the name got me when I first bumped into you, and because I'm a Taurian, it's my 50th birthday this week. Oh, hold on, next week, 29th. Oh, yeah, 7 days away. So I turn 50, and Taurus for me is all about home, and it's about family, and it's that feeling of being home and having family that represents Taurus for me, because I'm a Taurian, and that's what we do. Every Taurian that I know loves home and loves family, and I know you're exactly the same. And the name of your company it represents that for me. It represents home and family, even though we haven't even done business yet, but that's what it already represents for me, which is beautiful.
Yeah, well, like you, with starting a business with your beautiful daughter there, when I first met both, most that event was with both of you there. My company was started on the day that my first child was born. So when Charlotte was born, I registered Taurus, and so I kind of feel like they're very much intrinsically linked. And interestingly, she works in the business. So having left school and And being to college, she now works in the business. So it is very much a Taurian brand. And the Taurian brand, of course, the core values are steadfast, earthy, solid, loyal, stubborn. Did I say stubborn? Tenacious, and you know, and that likes nice things. Doesn't not materialistic, but likes beauty. So that tends for me to be that I like the simple things in life, and I like nature, and I love the beach, and I love my team. I mean, my team are just extraordinary.
So tell us about Taurus, because I know, you know, from that very first session where you came and spoke for us at the event, which was amazing. There was a beautiful woman there named Melinda, and I think I connected you with Melinda I think she has the Miracle Babies charity.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I've watched Melinda's profile just go crazy. I've seen her everywhere at speaking events all around the world doing amazing things, promoting the great work that she's doing with kids. Were you involved in that? Well,
Melinda, I would count as a girlfriend, but before that, she was a syndicate member in my syndicate when I was a chair at the CEO Institute. So I have, like lots of people, I have a portfolio career, and my main P&L, profit and loss company, is Taurus. And then I do things outside of that, you know, in the industry and to give back. And one of my other roles was as a CEO Institute chair for the CEO Institute, which is where you go and you become a chair of a dozen or so entrepreneurs who you then counsel and facilitate monthly meetups to help them progress in their businesses. And Melinda was one of my precious syndicate members. Pretty much all of those syndicate members, and I had 2 different syndicates during that period, had become really, really close friends and clients. And Melinda's story was extraordinary. So she was in my syndicate about 8 years ago, and I know we celebrated a big birthday together 6 years ago. So there you go. And she's a dynamo.
Is that 21?
Yeah, it was that one. Well spotted. So yeah, that was Melinda, who you know.
Yeah, just a lovely story. I met her on the Growth Project with Peter Baines and Larry Fingelson, and that's where MeetMagic was born. Basically, it popped out. In fact, I had Steve, a videographer around my place here yesterday, filming a 5-year anniversary of that story, which is 5 years have passed. Bloody hell, where's it all gone? It's just crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
So what's going on now in marketing with COVID? Because God, I mean, I'm seeing if you're not marketing right now, you're going to miss you're missing the trick, surely.
Yeah. Look, the good thing about what I do for a living is that it's very difficult for businesses to survive without it, and whether they know it or not, or whether they plan it or not, they're probably doing it in some sort of form. So if you're a single business owner, then part of your day and part of your week would be marketing, even if you don't actually give it that name, because people are buying you and your brand. And then, of course, if you're at the opposite end of the spectrum and you're a big ASX listed company like some of our customers, and we have a whole range of customers from small to big, then marketing, you've usually got big marketing departments, and those marketing departments are broken up into all sorts of different roles with your social media and your content and your events and web and all the rest of it. So from one end of the spectrum to the other, marketing is always happening, whether you know it or not. And of course, I believe strongly, having lived through the tsunami in 1997, I think that was. Maybe not that long ago, 2007, 2000, maybe it's 2007. Anyway, living through the tsunami with an insurance client, that happened on Boxing Day, having lived through breast cancer, having lived through, you know, the various life experiences we all live through, that in a crisis, what you do first is over communicate. So what you want to do is make sure that everybody in your world knows how you're going, that you're still here. Or if you're not still here, they need to know that too. So, and what is great about the fact that if you've got a good profile, or you've got a good business, or you've got a good reputation, let's say that if you've got a good reputation, people will buy from you whatever. So even worst case scenarios, with businesses today, if they are turning bad during this period, you can reinvent with the databases and the marketing approaches that you've had before. So reputation will follow you. And then from a brand point of view, Carl, I've always eaten my own cooking. I've always done recommended to clients what I would do for the brand that is my baby, Taurus. And we just went into communicating in overdrive. So we put a COVID-19 page up on the Taurus website. We've increased our virtual and digital communication, which is what everyone out there should be doing right now, because we can't do that face-to-face thing anymore. That chemistry, we can't smell each other. We can only see each other visually, and there's none of that human connection that we're used to now. So what we've got to do is move all that budget and that energy to the virtual digital experience that you and I are having now. And then make sure we keep communicating with everybody, which is what you're doing now, which is so commendable. And giving. We want to give more. In a crisis, you don't want to be sold to. You want to know what people can do for you to support you. So empathy really is the new brand currency.
I've really got to learn to get more of that. I've had a couple of incidents recently where you just get so busy and you post from the hip. Well, I've actually posted from the hip on LinkedIn a couple of times, and it's come across as though I've really got no empathy whatsoever. But it's actually not meant that way. I've got to stop this, because it looks like I'm trolling. It looks like, and I have no intentions of it coming across that way. But it's just me thinking and talking as though I'm there in person, but I'm actually not. And then when you go back and look at this comment, it looks actually really bad. So there's a few things I've got to learn to change there.
I think it's interesting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go, darling.
I was just gonna say, I think it is interesting for MeetMagic as well, because I feel like we've only started really upping our marketing and like officially kind of thinking of it as marketing recently, and kind of as this whole crisis has sparked. So I feel like for us, it's even kind of like navigating something that we've never really done to a huge capacity in a totally different time as well, when everyone's kind of fresh to this as well. So I feel like although we're kind of bumbling through it, I feel like it's everyone kind of is. So it's nice, because we're on a similar playing field, I feel like. But it will be really interesting, I feel like, for Meeting for Good and MeetMagic once we come out of this. And then maybe hopefully that's where you can help us, Sharon, is when we come out of this, is learning how to actually market
properly.
I
mean, we are literally just throwing it out there, and there's no structure, no discipline.
Yeah.
We've got
and a bit of guidance. A good brand. Well, a good brand and a good marketer will be used to pivoting anyway, because if you can imagine, I've been in business 25 years. You have to reinvent constantly. I mean, when I first started out, there was a telex machine and the phone. There was no internet, and I got excited when the fax machine came in, and then we had the internet, and now we've got apps, and we've got the apps. Every year I get a new tool to play with. But the fact is, I remain a comms and a marketing strategist. So the tools change, and you have to adapt regularly and to the market out there, and to what happens. And a lot of companies wouldn't in the past have reacted to a COVID-19, thank goodness, but they might have reacted to competitive changes. So a threat by a competitor, legislation changes, economic changes. So they would have had to rethink their brand constantly and adapt. So in a way, COVID-19 is a much bigger version of that. But people in business should be looking to reinvent, pivot, and look at constant new ways of engaging with the market and not wait for a pandemic to put that in place. Although the good news is that the good positive thing out of this is businesses will and individuals will, whatever the circumstances, will emerge stronger after this. We will be better business people, better practitioners, better marketers. And already a lot of my clients are putting together the responses to the next COVID-19, because this won't be the last time that we deal with something like this.
It's really interesting. Just two things that just popped up in my world this morning, which I didn't even think about. And I'm wondering if you're seeing a lot of this, actually talking of pivots, of companies that are doing things that are really remarkable. One of them, I was talking to a Friska, who's a friend of mine in Melbourne. She's a change leader. And she was telling me how one of the top restaurants in Melbourne have, because they can't open their doors anymore, they're sending boxes of their meals out to customers who buy them. You buy a plate, and you have a virtual masterclass cooking with the head chef of that restaurant. Wow. I thought, just an amazing way to pivot your business and keep money coming in the door. The second one that I saw, which blew me away, and I got on my WhatsApp and shared it with everyone that I could this morning, was a wine company in Australia. Obviously, all the wine tours have stopped. So they've created this $60 bundle, and you get small little bottles of wine and some cheese, and they send it to your door, and you have this virtual wine, cheese, and matching session with the owners of the wine and the cheese from France and so on, talking about the cheese and everything else. They had 80 people on a call on Friday, and they've got 160 booked this weekend. And I'm like, holy moly, cool. What a great way to spend your Friday night.
Yeah, what a great example of the pivot and the re-emergence of a brand to deal with. It's like my coffee shop where I live in Artarmon has now, he's still making coffee, but the front of the shop is all laid out to be, 1.5 meters apart, and he's got flour and eggs, and I can go down and pick up he's holding my papers for me, and how good is that? That people are being creative. And look at Anzac Day this weekend. We're going to see a whole load of creative ways to respect our diggers and show that respect when we can't actually be at dawn services. So again, we're being asked to be more creative and resilient, and I think that's a good thing, Carl.
If anyone's actually watching from Darling Point, I'm here on Yarran Abbey Road overlooking Rushcutters Bay and the park. There's a big apartment block to my left just here. They've got a bugler to come in and do the dawn service.
Oh,
so there's like
that's 50, so good. Well, that's so beautiful. I've got my flag from paper flag from last weekend's papers. I'm going to put it on some cardboard and put it in my window.
It's a really interesting.
It is amazing how creative people are getting. I completely agree, and I think not enough people are looking at it with that kind of view that you are, Sharon. I feel like a lot of people just kind of closed down. They're just like, no, this is horrible. Like, let's really focus on the negatives. But I completely agree. Like, this is going to, like, as horrible as it is and as tough as it is, and how much I feel for everyone that's struggling right now, I do think you're so right in saying, like, we're going to come out so much stronger, and and it's forcing us to do these creative things and kind of find new ways of connecting and new ways of working our businesses and things like that. I think not enough people are focusing on that. And that's a beautiful thing to say. And that's really hit me, actually. It's like, wow, this is cool. We're creating some pretty amazing things right now.
So Lily first came on to me when she first started working for us, Sharon. She said to me, after about the second week, she said, I really love what I'm doing, but I really love marketing, and I'd really love to get more involved in marketing. What would you say to Lily? I mean, this is what she's doing right now, having the balls to actually come live on LinkedIn. I think as a 20-year-old, being her first big girl job, I think it's literally remarkable. I dread to think where she's going to be in 10 years' time. She's going to be a complete genius, knocking it out of the park.
No.
What's your advice for her in marketing? What should she be focusing on as a marketer, or somebody wants to get into it?
Lily, I'd read all you can. I'd find some people that you really respect and admire and watch what they write, and maybe even, speak with them and get mentored by them. I love reading, Seth Godin, and I love reading some of the big leading entrepreneurs of the world. I also love philosophy, and so I read a lot. I read a lot, and I pick stuff up. And ultimately, marketing is all about matching consumer with buyer with seller, and building the reputation around that to make that easy, and to allow people to see who you are and what you're offering really quickly, instead of having to go what. And it's a strategic revenue-based activity. It meets business objectives. It is not an airy-fairy thing that has no accountability. It is absolutely a revenue-driven, and even if you're a charity, a not-for-profit, you have got to have money in the equation, or you don't exist. So I would suggest that you have to be disciplined, that you have to measure everything, and that you read a few basic books on marketing, or do a certificate or something, and then you read and keep up, because the world is reinventing at such a fast pace that those old marketing books that I've got on my bookshelf up there from when I did my qualifications, I've just got to keep on the ball the whole time. I've just got to keep reading and learning.
I think one of the
wow, yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
I think one of the early books I read was the Blue Ocean Strategy. That really popped a cherry for me when I read that. It was, talking about how you strip out the things that you don't necessarily need and just give the value, basically. And I think that's what we've done with the whole MeetMagic story. When I look at the process of the events, that a lot of our clients are tech companies, big global tech companies like Dell, CrowdStrike, and Netscope, and those big companies that are adding value in the tech world. They've got a lot of marketing dollars that they spend on these events, standing around for 3 days scanning badges, and often that's $30, $40, $50, $100,000, depending on what the event is, for 3 days worth of scanned badges. And we often hear a lot of times that it's unpredictable, the ROI that they're going to get from that, if they're lucky to get an ROI, that is, in terms of a new client. So what we've done is we've stripped out all of that and just taken straight to the ROI, which is the meeting. So we're taking away all that unpredictability in the marketing, and given some predictability by taking these vendors straight to the executive to have a conversation. And obviously it does a good thing for charity at the same time. Are you seeing that do you think that, I guess when it bounces back and everybody does go back to the event world, how much of a difference do you think that event world's going to be? Because we're seeing now there's a shift, obviously. People can see that they can do without it. And of course, they're going to have it from a brand recognition perspective at the big events. But do you think there'll be a slowdown in those events? Ooh. Oh, frozen. Ooh. I think you're frozen. That's the NBN in Artarmon.
Oh, dear. You guys need to be down in Melbourne. We've got perfect internet.
Yeah. Sharon, are you there? Hello? Oh, not there. This is what happens on live TV, Lily.
That's crazy.
200. Can you believe that?
I know. No, I can't believe that, honestly.
and just this morning alone, I've had 3 conversations with vendors who have called me and said they don't actively get involved and engage on these live streams that we're doing, but they've told me that they're watching and that they love them.
Yeah, I think we do have a fair few people that just watch and then think about it after. Maybe they're not commenting. They don't want to be in the background. They just want to be a fly on the wall. But I think there are a few people that are just ducking in and out.
Yeah, totally. It's working, and I know we're getting the fact that we've hit the 200 mark now is really quite powerful. And I think what will happen is you'll see that number now go to 400 quite quickly, because the first 100 was always hard. Once you get past that again, it'll go. So what's been happening this week? We've hit a milestone, which is really, really powerful. And the nimble, that whole nimble story has just blown me away. What's on for the rest of the week?
I love that.
Where are we going for the rest of the week? What are we doing? I'm going to throw you right on the spot right now. What are we up to?
The rest of the week, I think we're going to work on, setting up a couple more vendors. So one we've already set up today, and then I think we're going to hopefully we'll lock in another one tomorrow. That's my goal, I reckon. And then our sales guy Colin is just hitting those phones, which has been fabulous.
I think
you're back, Sharon.
Sorry, it just all froze, and then I got cut off. So I've been trying to get back on again, and I've been hotspotting with my phone, and I'm here. I'm all yours.
Oh, fabulous!
It's totally okay. This is what happens on live TV. We just winged it like we always do.
I think there was a 30-minute session once where I couldn't hear Carl.
Oh, Lily, it's so good I can see you properly now. Before I couldn't see you. Now I can see you. That's lovely. So, probably just wrapping up. Carl, what would you like me to touch on in the last sort of 4 or 5 minutes?
I'd love you to tell people why, obviously we know how they can get hold of you, because there's taurusmarketing.com.au here. We know that marketing right now is absolutely critical. I'd love for nothing more than for you to get inundated with people saying they need help. What's the number one thing that they need help with that you're seeing at the moment?
Focus on getting out the other side. So rather than being on the day at the moment, which you've got to be, is set aside some time, some effort, some energy to actually plan coming out of this. We're probably about the lowest point, in the period. We're probably in the lowest point, and now we're going to start coming back up again. And so people mustn't be stuck in the doldrums. They've got to prepare for coming out the other side. Life will be the other side for those who are still here, and paying respects to those that aren't. So what we've got to do as businesses is plan for the future. And one of the first things I did, because I realized I was spitting out all my ideas to the team, and they were kind of going, "Whoa, what?" And so we named it. We named it the COVID-19 War Cabinet, and allocated a minute taker and allocated a team of expertise within Taurus, and then we focused on what we're going to do to get out of this. And I think that's what businesses out there need to do. They need to separate themselves from the actual mud that they're trumping through every day, and plan. We're going to get through this. It's going to be okay.
That's really that's just actually resonated with me a lot, because I don't think what happens. Even when I went to Gavin for a nimble and borrowed $500, even though I knew I was going to have to pay $900 back in a couple of weeks, I was desperate enough to actually borrow that $500, and I was focused on survival only, and I did not have any thoughts of anything more than 2 weeks out. So there'll be a lot of companies that are in that survival frame of mind of how the hell do we just get through this without planning. Just keeping our head above water and not drowning is what we're trying to do. What do you do when you're in that position? Because you're now swimming in treacle. You're going to go slowly under. How do you take your focus off survival and move into planning?
Okay, Carl, surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people that have got different skills to you. So I have fantastic advisors in my life, my own team, my daughter, great friends, great people with great wisdom. And if ever you're in the doldrums, if ever you're in the mud, go and get help. Get help. There's lots of people out there who may not have your skills, but they may have skills you don't have. And so I would suggest that people read, learn, and put around a network that you can turn to and talk something through with. And often people have been there before. Like I'm old enough to have, as I said before, lived through a lot of crisis. This isn't, I've done crises before. This is I've lived through this. Not a global pandemic, but something, things that have put risk to my team and the business. So in terms of, personal health threats and things. So yeah, I think to surround yourself with the best mentors and the best advice is the best advice I could give. And
that's exactly, I did that. If things don't change, nothing changes. And I know very quickly you become the average of the 5 people you hang around most. And so the 5 people that I hang around most are really powerful people. And I just love hanging around with them because I get the reality. My daughter, my 17-year-old daughter right now is my reality and both my ethics coach. There's nothing I can do or say that's inappropriate without getting called up on that. Maybe I should get her to do my LinkedIn. That's probably a good thought, actually. But Sharon, you are literally, for me, a voice of reason in the marketing world. And I know you're doing a lot of great stuff with big brands and those sorts of brands that we're working with. So I just know one day I'm full of goose pimples, which tells me I'm telling the truth here. We're going to come and do business with Taurus because it's where I want it to be.
Thank you. Thanks, Carl. Well, with a noble brand. Lovely. And wishing you both all the best. And hey, Lily, well done for your first sale today. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was lovely advice that you were able to give me. And honestly, you've said find someone that is inspiring and gives a bit of advice. Well, I think I've found one. So thank you for that.
Coming right back at you. Okay.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
See ya.
Will do. Bye.
Bye, Lily.